Will you please, well, yeah, where's the flag?
Right there.
Oh, there it is, okay. Will you please rise and join me in the pledge to our flag? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, let the record show all board members are present and accountable with the exception of trustee Devine. And at this moment, I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries unanimously. Now we'll move on to public comment. Members of the public may address the board of trustees regarding any special board meeting agenda item during board consideration of that item. Please note that if you wish to address the board of trustees on an agenda item, you should do so when the specific item is called for by the board president. In order to do so, if you want to submit to speak, to comment in person, please fill out a board request to be heard card and give it to the board assistant. Your name will be called during public comment on that agenda item or during specified agenda item. Comments are limited to 2 minutes. If you want to submit via Assembly Gamut meetings, enter your name and email, and the board assistant will provide your comment to the board. And then also, if you want to comment via YouTube, simply type your name in the live chat, and the superintendent or board assistant will share your comment with the board as appropriate. Now is an opportunity for individuals to address the board on items that are not on the agenda. Please note that because they're not agendized, we cannot address the item specifically, but note that we are listening and we'll do what we can to try and address your issue, your concern at a later date. With that, is anyone who'd like to address the board on an item that is not on the agenda?
We are, yes.
Okay, seeing none here present, we'll give the folks online an opportunity to comment. Seeing as how we have no comments, we will now move on to reports. And we will start with the Robla Education Foundation.
I'd like to take the opportunity to thank the board members that have responded to the call for duty. And still waiting for a couple others to respond. I won't mention names to embarrass them or nothing.
Eye contact is all the comments I need.
But I just, as you know, I just sent out an email yesterday. I did get 4 more responses to that. So I had some more shifts filled. I still have a lot of shifts that I need to fill. And plus, I would love to have a morning driver. I got one lined up, but she don't count. And if she can stay home and not drive, my life will be so much better. So if you can find a driver, it's good for $300.
All right, with that, we'll now move on to Robla Teachers Association. Well, CSEA, Superintendent's report.
Thank you. Just a couple things to report in the last couple of weeks. Today kicked off with our preschool promotion ceremony, all 7 of them, but it went really smooth, and I'm super excited that many are going to be TK and K next year. Maine had their open house last night. They were one of the last schools. It was a great turnout, even though it was over 100 degrees. Last Thursday, we had our Asian American Pacific Islander Parent Empowerment Dinner. Not as good of a turnout as the others, but we competed with all of Twin Rivers High School graduation. So that was a challenge. The soccer tournament was also last Thursday. Congratulations to Glenwood Gators. They went this year. And then my trip to Washington, D.C. for the NPOE and the CASA was really a great experience. All the keynote speakers were distinguished individuals in education. So it was great to hear the perspective of all the impacts, positive and unintended consequences for forward versus education.
Right now, we'll move on to board member reports. Trustee Cardona.
Nothing to report.
Trustee Hamilton start. Trustee Barnes.
I'll be quick. It's been our last day, and I'll be able to participate in my first assembly. And it was nice because I was told by a veteran there, and I have to say that it takes the board to the next level. And I want to say that we'll go definitely well represented at the state level, and it's nice to see the representation and also to be part of it. I look forward to my 2-year term. I'm glad that we have had representation on it. Whether you agree or disagree with the opinions, it's nice to have discussions and have a body that is there representing everyone. All our staff. That's my report. That's all I have.
I do have the opportunity to attend Liberty Assembly, and it was nice to have Robla in the house. One thing that I did want to know was a big part of the discussion was the governor's budget trick when it came to how he was trying to say, yeah, I didn't really give you that money, so you can't really count that money as a part of Prop 98. Well, apparently they are in negotiations. CSBA likes to take credit for it, but it's really with California Teachers Association to do something other than that particular trick. And while it didn't necessarily affect dollars right now, it was going to have a very big effect on Prop 98 and potential funds going forward. So it's nice to see the governor rethinking his perspective on that, and that's a pretty big deal. So anyway, other than that, once again, a lot of really good conversation. It's nice to see once again CSBA focusing on policy, trying to get the legislature focused on policy is affecting kids. All right, with that, we're going to move on to presentation information. We're going to start with item A, public hearing on the 2024-25 local control accountability plan. With that, this public hearing is open. Yes, we're accepting input or comments on YouTube as well. So if you want to comment, if you're watching us on YouTube, where's the camera at? Oh, over there, okay. So if you're watching us on YouTube, please feel free to go ahead and comment. We'll give you a minute or so. It's called an owl.
Look like it.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm going to close the hearing.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item B, public hearing on the 2024-25 proposed budget.
You want me to present it from here? I need to stand up.
If you could stand up, that's
Stand up,
it.
no, okay, I will do. So, we're presenting the 24-25 budget. This is my fifth budget, and I would have to say this is the most challenging budget because we were last year, we were expecting a COLA about 4%. We already planned. So now the COLA, the final COLA is from the 1.7. So that alone is really challenging. My goal of the presentation is to present for the board what has been different and how we make it work for our business. We have 1.7 COLA. Our salary increase is already 3%. I say, how do you do that? So that's my goal of that presentation. Hopefully we accomplish that. So this is items we will discuss. It's just as important what is not in the budget because also for the last 4 years I have talked about COVID-19 funds. They are not included in this year, so you will see the federal funds that changes. And we will discuss in more detail the average the attendance, what are we assuming for 24-25. So as starting presentation, the COLA is 1.7. It's not final. It will be final until the end of June, but that's the governor's budget. And then we also required to present the following 2 years because this is according this year plus the following 2 years. ADA is 1,839. That's our projected ADA. That includes accounting programs, so about 4.5 ADA. And this year, we are projecting for the first time after in the last 3 years, that we are assuming that 24, 25 ADA will be higher than the average of the last 3 years. So that's where we are assuming. So we can flat enrollment, but our ADA, we're working really hard to increase our ADA. So that's we projected to be a bit higher. One big item right here is that even within the budget of 1.7, he assumes that the governors will have 24, 25 will have a very strong budget, and also 25, 26. So there's a lot of risk within the budget that I want to mention that up front. So other items that include a lottery, I will talk about our pension costs a little bit more in the next slide. CalSTRS is flat, and CalPERS is 2705. This will be 24, 25 has been it has been 10 years, a decade of local control funding formula. There's a lot of articles going out, and then I just was thinking about it. Yes, but not all the revenue that we have received is really available for us. In one is because of the increase in pension costs. So this is for CalSTRS, for the California, is 115% in 10 years, and CalPERS 130%. I can tell you our revenue has not increased by that. But what this means is like for every dollar that the state give us, they take out 20 cents. So that's, but they give it to us, or you receive this much. Or not really, because you took out about 20% to increase increase in pensions. Prior to LCFF, pension costs, the percentage was always flat. Right? So now with additional revenue, we have been for many years said, why you give it to us and take it away? Just you stay figure out how to pay it, but I know the politics don't work that way. So the
Before you move on, can you kind of report when was here when a lot of this happened? Can you give a kind of a 30-second summary of why this started happening?
Yeah, so when Governor Brown, he was when there was additional revenue to the school district based on the duplicate percentage of duplicate account for a rate, so many districts receive more revenue, and we have the state have a funding problem with the retirement system. So they said, well, now we're going to ask you school districts to contribute more than what you have contributed because of the number of retired. So that's what is happening. You,
For the longest time,
yeah,
the amount that municipalities had to contribute was relatively low because investments in
right,
CalPERS and CalSTRS were really, really good. Then come along the economic downturn in 2018
yes,
to 13, and well, the investments didn't do so well. So in order to make up for those losses, they're requiring school districts and municipalities to take care
and
of
I remember very clearly when that
Yeah.
happened, they was gonna say, oh, it's gonna be like it's gonna be only one time or just a time,
Yeah.
but it has been increased almost every year. You know, it's almost like a cost that we have to incur. You know, in reality, this is um, um, employee benefit, right? You're not receiving it. We're not receiving how much are we we're not receiving it right now, but it's part of that eventually when you retire. But that's when we compete with a private industry, we have to pay besides social security, we also have to pay $27 for every dollar that we pay. Yes on pension. Okay. The main advice, this is something new too, or we have some. This is how we are making it a value work. You know, because we're using the carryover from one-time funds and also from carryover from some state programs that continue. We're using that in order to cover some of our salaries and benefits that I will explain in the latest slide. Our mandatory block grant, we receive about $38. All of this money, we use it for our field trips for the students. So our field trips, our schools work a lot of field trips, and that's how we use that funding. So so again, I will discuss in pictures and then in with numbers. Our we depend so much on the state. You count that 70% that our total general fund budgets, the local control funding formula, that's the average daily attendance, and then with the other programs, it's other state revenues 20%. So total is about 90%. Now you will look into the federal revenues right here. This is back to normal. That we don't have COVID funds anymore. This number used to be, you remember, between 10, 12, 15. So that's how we're gonna. This is back to reality. We had to spend these funds, I think, by September 30. We will do some. We will try to spend it this year. So we are done. We don't have to do any future in that. So that's same. Yes, on the numbers. Our local control funding formula unrestricted is 94% of our total budget, and combined is 39.46 million dollars. And so now this is the general fund expenditures. Again, our work packets of reports, you have unrestricted, three columns, unrestricted, restricted, and combined. I'm showing you this is the total budget. So combined, the 76% of total budget is salaries and benefits. And we will look at the unrestricted, that will be 85%. I want to just talk a little bit about this 17% right here, other services and operating. That includes our utilities, that includes our insurance. And our insurance increase for 24, 25, 60% for our property for two main reasons. One is because we have new schools, so that insurance come and do an evaluation. So because if there's a fire, they will have to pay on the new value. And another one is the sexual harassment from the insurance, a new law that has been a big issue throughout the state. It's very hard actually to find there's a saying in the insurance company, anybody but California. They don't want to insure California because all those increases in issues that we have to, and so that's something that that's why it is higher. So again, this is our general fund expenditures. You will look into page 20 to 126 pages. The certificated salaries and benefits. You will look at this line in certificated salaries and benefits. There is $1.3 million that was in 23-24 was an unrestricted program. Now we move it to the restricted program. We're using one-time funds from the state to cover salaries and benefits. That is, we can use it for certificate for teaching salaries. So that's how we do that, and we have an opportunity to do it for 2 years. So that's what it is. I want to say here that we are transferring out. We are assuming in the expenditure $500,000 to transfer out for the preschool and administration. The section of the preschool, kindergarten, adult avenue for the administration portion that is not covered by the grant. So we spend the most time in the general fund. We also have other funds, and they're all ending with a positive fund balance. And one of the yielding funds is, we almost used it all for this year. So we expect to get some reimbursement from the state for the projects that we have, but I decided not to include that. I expect it until we count it, especially due to the cash flow from the state. I'm not, I had asked the Florida for respecting this, it's a yes, but I still I'm not gonna count it until we have it on hand due to so much uncertainty on the state budget. Okay, the school size budget. These are the programs we do not, all the programs that we have done in this year continue. This is funds that are allocated to the school sites. Each of the school has received a budget already. The allocation for the school is the same amount per student, but some schools get more or less based on the number of enrollment. But about all of these programs are there's a breakdown detail for each of these programs. So the school site administrators, the principals have discretion how to use these funds along of they are within these funds. Within the multi-year projections, I want to point out right here to the very bottom. So like last year, we said, well, there's going to be a deficit spending in 24, 25. There might still be a deficit spending, but we did not include transfers out about $6.4 million for the central kitchen. We have an internal discussion. Are we going to wait to do this project a little bit longer, or are we going to get some funds from the state? So by the first interim, we will revise that. But my point was that even without that, the following 2 years, there's a deficit spending. That was kind of my point. And this is I feel very comfortable in this. And the further I am, the more wrong I am. That's just there's so many uncertainties that we will revise. But when I just said like even without, we have our fund balance to cover our deficit spending. We also have same that we have in this year. We're gonna start the PK preschool. I mean, we are in June and we are just getting into the construction. So I continue the money in the fund balance for the PK preschool building part of the funding the. I know this is a hard slide to see, but my point is we still continue that what we have in this year. What is really, I told Tracy a little bit, what is our challenge and opportunities? And this is the challenge is, you were hearing, I'm sure you hear it, this budget too optimistic from the government side. What will happen? Are we going to have cash deferrals or mid-year cuts? There's so much uncertainty. So that is the biggest challenge. We are prepared for that. If we cash deferrals, we don't have to go and borrow money. We have enough money, unless it's such like a half of money that we don't receive that, but we are prepared for that. So we are keeping our promise, our commitments that we made with our bargaining units. We are not, we 80%, we will still have that. Now, and the budgets will change. This is information that we have. The final will be, we are adopting our budget before the state. So there might be some changes, and if there are significant changes, I would have to present the changes to you before the adoption. If they are not significant, what we call it material changes, then this is the budget that we will adopt at the next board meeting. So based on that we recommend that you approve this budget at the next board meeting. This is just a public hearing. We have this, the public and anybody could come to my office. Public hearing it's available since Monday, and anybody could ask any questions until the 27th, and we're gonna more in detail. Thank you. I just love this slide that I just read it. It's available.
Any questions? Comments? Any comments from anyone online? Thank you so much. All right. No comments, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
And moved in second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item C, public hearing, sunshine proposal from Classified School Employees Association, Chapter 285 to Robla School District for 2024-25 bargaining negotiations. Hearing is now open.
I move to close the hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item D, public hearing, sunshine proposal from Robla School District to Classified School Employees Association, Chapter 285, for the 2024-25 bargaining negotiations. This hearing is now open.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. We'll now move on to action items. Item A, approve sunshine proposal for the Classified School Employees Association, Chapter 285 to local school district 2024-25 bargaining negotiations.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item B, approve sunshine proposal, Robla School District 2 Classified School Employees Association, Chapter 285 for the 2024-25 bargaining negotiations.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item C, approve 2024-25 Education Protection Act spending plan. The second, would you like to speak to this?
Yeah, this is just something we need to do every year is the proposition period that just saying that we have to say that we're using these funds only for certificated positions, and that's what it is, and that's what it is.
Any additional discussion or debate? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item D, approve agreement for Department of Toxic Substance Control services with UES. No, I got that backwards. For the central kitchen cafeteria at Bell Avenue School construction project.
So, second.
Been moved and seconded. Would you like to speak to this one?
Certainly. Good evening. As Mr. Castillo had pointed out, that the district is having discussions on whether or not to proceed with the project, given the budget difficulties. The district did select architect in May for the design of this project. At this point, we have been coordinating with that person. However, we have not made substantial progress on that. So, in light of the conversation I had with the district, typically what we would do is we would bring on these professional services in order to aid in the design of those projects. So this along the next two items. This is the Department of Toxic Control. What they do is they do testing in and around the site, which will be disturbing. So we'll be disturbing asphalt as well as some of the play area. Obviously, since we did some work in the vicinity with the new two-story classroom building, we don't anticipate having to find much there. But if there is something underneath the blacktop, the district will give that to us. The board may proceed with approving this contract and directing it whether or not to move forward with the district's direction. And so in either situation, we can either take these items to a future board meeting once those subjects have been decided upon, or the board can approve them and provide direction to the district on whether or not to act on those agreements. So I wanted to give that context. That's something new that's come up in the last couple of weeks. As we have an eye towards this as well. I think one thing of note, which we will probably come back in more detail at our formal presentation at the end of the month, is that typically what happens is the design cost for any project is anywhere between 7 and 10% of the overall budget. So while we're looking at a budget of approximately $6.4 million, the actual dollars necessary for us to move it from conception through DSA approval is somewhere in the neighborhood of about $600,000 to $800,000. With the rest of it, the balance of being attributed to construction activities, whether it's actually the hard cost of lumber, nails, and labor, or it's the soft cost of inspectors and related professionals. So we will talk about that more in detail at our next meeting. But I think I want to let the board understand that there's an upfront cost to the design of it, and approval, and then once we have TSA approval, those plans are good for 4 years under the code in which they're approved. So we can design the project, take all the way to TSA approval, and the district would have 4 years before that set of plans have to go through a code review. So periodically what happens with the state is either on an annual basis or every few years, they update the building code. Typically, it's very minor things, but occasionally there are very major updates to that. For example, in 2022, they adopted revisions to the green code that now stipulates that any new construction building that generates more than 4 kilowatt hours must be offset by solar equipment. And anything above a certain threshold also has to provide for an on-site battery storage for said power. Thirdly, you're now required, depending on what type of parking lot improvements you do related to those projects, to install either EV charging stations or put in the infrastructure for EV charging going forward. That is something that we talked about briefly in the past about, Mr. Barnes once asked me, why don't we put solar on Robla? A, it was a budgetary thing, and B, it wasn't required. Now it's required. That's an example of a major code change that we're now absorbing. So the Bell Avenue project, for example, that's currently underway, fell under the 2019 code. The cafeteria kitchen, as well as the project at Main Avenue, will fall under the 22 code, which will have those requirements. And so that's an example of if we were to approve the project and then wait for 4 years and we were to commence construction, the district would be at risk for those types of code changes having to be incorporated into those plans once, and you'd have to pay for architect to go back and bring it through the SAs. So that's the long story of it, but I think it's important to understand what the consequences are of your actions either way. And so I think it's important to understand that we can either table these 3 items so there's further direction provided by the district, or we can adopt these and then hold those direction of the superintendent and Mr. Castillo. So with that, a lot of information, but I can answer your questions.
I'm assuming that when there are changes generally to the building code, that it generally gets more strict and more expensive and not less.
Yeah.
That's correct. So one of the fun ones in there is also shading requirements. So we're actually now, anytime we do hardscape, so play areas or parking lots, we're actually required to provide shade or demonstrate that shade will grow over time to a certain percentage of those hardscapes, for example. So over in Center Unified, where the Rex Fortune School recently opened up, the original plan on that one, I think we had something like 100 trees because of the green code, because we were adding so much hardscape. Now you go out there, they're not mature oaks, they're not, they're these little things that, the deer will probably do up in the next few weeks. That's a good example where, there's no costs associated with those types of policies.
Any additional questions or comments?
So if there's a major change, so we put down as a major change, what would happen? What should happen?
So I apologize. Let me simplify it. Today's action is to recruit consultants that would help with the development of the plans. We would then go through a planning process that would take anywhere from 6 to 12 months, and we would submit those plans to DSA as we go with every other project that the Robla board has approved. Once those are reviewed and stamped, okay, it's the district's prerogative as to when they can commence construction. And as long as construction occurs between the date that it's stamped and 4 years thereafter, the state's not going to require you to go back and change anything. Now, it's 4 years and 1 day. What they're going to say is those plans have expired and they're now subject to a code review. And so you have to resubmit the plans under the new code. So if, for instance, ADA rules have changed, or the slope now is 2% and now they want 1%, we would have to go back and change all of our grading plans of how the buildings sit in order to accommodate that change in slope. That's an example. Today's action is simply whether or not to provide authorization for the district to proceed to provide its consultants to the architect to proceed with the design.
I'd like that. If there is a major change, and I get that it could be more costly.
Sure.
But is there a mechanism that says, yeah, this is more costly than something I don't consider because of reasons?
So from a code perspective, it's a requirement. So we're not going to have an option one way or the other. Now, there may be other things that come up in the development of this particular project that come up for the district's consideration. So for instance, at Bell Avenue, we know for years that we've had issues in terms of drainage into the field. And so in the course of this construction, is that something that we would go fix at that time? That would be a decision the district would have to make. Obviously, there's costs associated with that. Does that answer your question? So the design process is going to but every school we've done at Robla has had a nice little surprise for us. Whether it be the vaults at Robla, whether it be some of the field stuff over at Maine. So just overall, we're going to find something, but hopefully the design process will be able to identify that and properly scope it out.
I guess my question is, I'm super excited about the change. But I guess my question is, if we didn't approve the consultants to go out and do it today, like when is their deadline? When is their conversation in?
So when you are doing this, you give us authorization to do it like when we decide to ready to do that. That's what this is. It doesn't mean like we will get approving out and it doesn't like we're gonna go do it and start it tomorrow. It just means like I don't this all of these things take a long time to do that work like before the construction starts. It's more environment requirements. So I recommend that you approve this so that you like that flexibility that we have it. It's always like nice to have the option. You decide to go, you're ready to go. Right? That's why I do recommend that you approve this guidance. It's just on that, from that perspective. Yes. And maybe construction, also too, if you have to decide the kind, it costs more. Like, it's really costs more. That's the one item that we need to do that. Construction. So that's what,
And the difference between the timeline between these three items and the next three items. The other three items are Maine, and Maine, we were awarded a grant, right? Bell, Central Kitchen, right, is contingent upon the reimbursements from our previous, projects, right? Which we know we will get,
Yeah.
we know that. But the conversation that we will have in the future meeting is the timing, because that impacts our cash flow in this budget situation. So approving these, I hear both, right? You can have them approved and we can give direction not to move forward. We could wait 6 months or something, that's an option. But they are already approved. It's just, I would like to explore the conversation of pausing a little bit just because I, as Gerardo says, want to make sure that we're actually going to get the reimbursements in the timing that we thought we were gonna get, so it does not impact our cash flow.
And I think we will know like in a few months, like exactly.
And just to add on to Lucia's comments, and I don't believe you were with us at the time when this occurred, but the mechanism that currently exists to fund the cafeteria is a loan from the general fund. So the district has loaned money from the general fund to special reserve. And that is earmarked for the central kitchen cafeteria projects. The strategy was then to take the reimbursements we were going to get from former projects and reimburse the general fund over time in order to make the general fund whole. Okay, that was the original plan. Okay, there is some flexibility. So one of the options they're looking at is potentially looking at it where instead of upfronting the money and spending it on construction that way, is to potentially planning it and then waiting for those reimbursements to come in, materialize. We do believe those will come over the next 2 to 3 years within that 4-year window, and then proceed with construction. Or the more extreme version of that is let's pause on everything and wait for all that money to show up and then proceed with design. And there's other considerations to that Mr. CEO, that Shannon pointed out in terms of cost and design and so forth. And so what they're requesting this evening is just authorization to approve these consultants and then either their direction or whether or not to release those out. Because one of the things that you need to be conscious of is a lot of this testing does occur on site. So geotechnical, the DTSC, it'll be boring and things like that. Summer's a great time to do that. There's no kids on site. And so given the board's calendar as well, you gotta have this authorization, make that determination either through the summer or thereafter. Would allow the flexibility right off to proceed through this time.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
You said it will take 6 to 12 months for this company to test all the.
No, I apologize. That's the design process. So depending on the size of the project. So the architect actually put pen to paper and get approved. This work here, so the first project we're on has a DTSC report. The DTSC report, what happens is that the company will come out, they'll take samples of blacktop loose and borings underneath it. They'll then test that, there'll be a report comes back to us. That typically takes anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks to complete, okay? Specific to that item. The other items that are for consideration have a similar timeline. The only one that's longer is the geotechnical. That takes typically about 4 to 6 weeks for them to do their work. So all these consultants would finish their work somewhere between 3 to 6 weeks worth of time, once they're given direction by the district leaders.
And that's when our 4 years start.
No, so
No.
4 years
It's
starts.
just start now.
4 years starts the day that DSA gives.
DSA, when you get approval.
Correct,
Okay? When you get an approval.
correct. I apologize for making this very
No, it's okay,
complicated.
we're just trying to understand when,
I just wanted to make sure that you understood, what the objectives were. And Mr. Castillo had mentioned that we had potentially looked at delaying this particular project, the invitation of it. Just wanted to explain that part as well.
yeah, that's good, that's so good. Questions are questions.
Any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item E, approve agreement for California Environmental Quality Act services with UES for the central kitchen cafeteria at Bell Avenue School construction project.
So move.
Been moved in second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move forward.
They're related.
Yes, sir.
They're all related. They're all related, right?
That's for Bill, and then the other ones are for me, right?
Anything the bill is related, right?
I appreciate your trying to do.
Is there any discussion or debate? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item F, approval of agreement for geotechnical engineering services with UES for the cafeteria or the central kitchen cafeteria at Bell Avenue Elementary School construction project.
Second.
We move the second. Is there any discussion or debate? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. G, approve agreement for California Environmental Quality Act services for the Main Avenue new preschool and transitional kindergarten classroom construction project.
Second.
We move in second. Would you like to speak to this one?
Certainly. So, as Superintendent mentioned before, this is being funded through the preschool, California Preschool TK Full Day Kindergarten Grant Program, which was awarded to the district last year. As part of that, we'll be funding these 3 professional services, non-governmental agreement that was considered approved by the board in May. Unlike the Bell Avenue project, there is a set timeline for and milestones for the project. We must garner DSA and CD approval, so California Department of Education and the Division State Architect, as well as award the construction contract, no later than 18 months from the award of the grant. Thereafter, we have 3 years to achieve substantial completion of that project. So
Where are we at in the timeline right now?
we're about 4 months, 5 months.
Any additional questions or comments? Then, Boyd, just real quick.
Yes, sir.
So G, H, and F are all for the same, GHI, I'm sorry. Is there any reason we could not amend the motion to include all 3 items?
There is no rationale why you cannot do that.
Aye.
Okay. Does the seconder accept that?
Second.
Okay, there we go. All right, is there any discussion or debate? Okay, so we're now going to be approving the agreement for the California Environmental Quality Act services for Main Avenue. Sorry, I'll go back. Agreement for the California Environmental Quality Act services, agreement for the geotechnical engineering services, an agreement for the Department of Toxic Substance Control Services with with UES for the Main Avenue new preschool and transitional kindergarten classroom construction project.
So,
And I was just making a motion, so all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
oh, sorry, that's all together.
Yes.
Got it.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. All right, we're now moving on to board member requests for future agenda items or reports.
No request.
Trustee Verdona,
No request.
trustee Hamilton Starr, trustee Barnes, and I have no requests. So with that, this meeting is adjourned.